I think that's as good as you look, actually. That's it.
Hey, thanks.
All right, let me go into your YouTube and see if this worked. Hold on. So you entertain the troops while I figure this out.
Oh, entertain the troops. Hey, folks, boy, I wanted to do this show last night. Actually, I wanted to do the show like 2 or 3 nights ago, and then everything started happening. You know, the Wilner thing. I'm talking in sports media. The Burke thing was the wildest television I had ever seen. It was like, oh, Burkey, you coming into the studio to do the show? He's like, nah, I'm the new president of the Pittsburgh Penguins. What? Hey, would you mind telling us in an interview, sort of an exit interview, your short time at Sportsnet on the panel, how you hated that business, how you didn't want to go back into being a president or GM, not back into hockey ops at all, that you were happy being in the media? And they're promoting you. Sportsnet's going, hey, Brian Burke is the new Don Cherry. Here he is. Burke's Law. Burke's this. Ask Burkey. Hanging with Burkey. Burkey. They're all pals there.
Right.
Did you notice that?
Well, he sure didn't look like he was enjoying himself. You know what I mean? Like, if anyone ever looked like they hated their job.
I know. We both kind of go, this is what Sportsnet did. They got rid of Kyprios. They got rid of McLean. They got rid of Shannon. Although Shannon has come back now.
On Sportsnet?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Hey, listen to the podcast. You'll learn a few things, buddy. I am now the only sports media critic left on the for Toronto, left on the planet. There are no others. They're gone.
You're the go-to guy.
Their positions have been eliminated in mainstream media. No one else is critiquing sports media, not just sports media, I guess.
Right.
I mean, the bell cuts affect everybody.
There's a paid site called Cart, I think, with 2 T's.
Yeah, Cart's my friend Greg O'Brien.
Okay, so but they do a job of covering stuff, but he
does a very good job.
No one dives into sports media like Hebsy, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, if it wasn't for people like Greg and the folks at Cart and other places, yeah, you want to be on top of things. I monitor Jonah on YYZ Sports Media. There are a lot of people that are very interested, not just people in the media business, but people who want to know more about the people that they see and hear and read. I don't know about you, but I'm interested in the person that's providing the content that has my attention.
Oh,
am I crazy?
Listen, you're preaching to the choir, my friend. By the way, before we forget, you got to retweet the YouTube link I just tweeted at you, because that's the link where everybody can join us.
Can you entertain the troops?
Yeah, I'm going to do a little tap dance here.
Okay, so I'm going to retweet.
You're going to I said a tweet. So
this is how we make the sausage, folks. This is before the actual podcast begins.
Well, listen, I'm going to just tell the people listening that, we're live on Hebsy's YouTube page, which is where we aim to go every single week. We're also live on Hebsy's Facebook page for the Facebook faithful. But what I did is I'm a bit of a pirate these days, and I've got a proprietary live stream, and it doesn't record it or anything, but it's just meant when I play lots of unlicensed music, I can get away with it. So we're actually on my pirate stream, which is live.torontomike.com, just to test things out over there. So Hebsy, you're all over the place, man. People are catching this content. And by the way, here's a fun fact. This is also a podcast. Fun fact.
I wondered if you were to ask someone that had heard the show and they remember, like, where exactly did you get this? Was it the podcast, the audio podcast? Was it off of Facebook? Was it off of YouTube? That's important, where they acquired it from, what their favorite platform is.
Channel or whatever. Yeah.
Channel.
Sure. Yeah.
I like that. Channel. Are we ready to start?
Ready to rock. Yeah. I've just checked all the spots and people are commenting everywhere. That's the one thing about going in more than one place is there's multiple comment streams.
Yeah. The other thing is with all these comments on YouTube, for example, I didn't know I was a racist or that this show has systemic
I know what
racism.
That's about.
I wasn't aware of it until I was informed by someone on YouTube. And what a horrible person I am for having the audacity to criticize someone that was in the same business. How could you?
Shame on you, Hebsy.
Right.
Come on. All right, Hebsy. Let's do this thing.
Let's go.
Let's do it again. My goodness. It just Let's pretend that didn't happen. And luckily, let me stop the tape or stop the music. That rarely happens there. It was only one note, I think, and no one knows what the hell it was except
Come on.
except for the keeners. Here we go.
These guys should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, really. If Kate Bush is nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, how come Los Lobos?
These guys in Go-Go's. Let's get the Go-Go's in there too.
I think Los Lobos got a little bit greater body of work than the Go-Go's. Anyway, welcome to Hebsy on Sports, episode 219. Mark Hebscher along with Toronto Mike. And on today's show, 470 media jobs lost last week in the Bell Media massacre. But Mike Wilner got a job. We'll talk about the new Toronto Star baseball reporter coming up. Brian Burke, gone from the airwaves, hopefully forever. And all I can say is good riddance. We just had a bump there, didn't we? Just had a little electronic problem, didn't we?
Little glitch on your end there, but you're back.
By the way, Good Riddance is the name of the Green Day song that they played when they axed everybody at TSN 1040 in Vancouver. They thought the song was called I Hope You Have the Time of Your Life. The song is called Good Riddance, you idiots. More media stuff. Jay Onrate. This was almost a week ago now. Man. Look what's happened since then. Wow. The dominoes just amazing. I'd be sick. I'd be physically ill if this was happening to me and or my friends, my colleagues. So I got to tell you, Jay was flying solo without Dan O'Toole, without his producer, without his head writer, and he a very heartfelt thank you to his fallen brother on the air. I thought it was terrific, very classy thing to do. And now he's got to soldier on solo. Big changes coming at the Fan 590, and perhaps more cuts. Let's hope not. At the TSN stations, because Bell, we don't know, they're not like a chicken with their head cut off. They don't know which direct, they don't know what to do. I think they might get out of the media business eventually. I think they might just say, screw it. Let's just do the Bell 5. Let's do the Bell Mobility or whatever you call it. Let's look after that and forget about this media stuff. I hope not. By the way, Hamilton, Vancouver, Winnipeg, those radio stations you were listening to, they don't exist anymore. They don't want to do sports. Also, a big-time sports writer in the U.S. apologizes for tweeting that the Mets had signed Trevor Bauer. Okay?
Right.
He tweeted it. It was wrong. He apologized profusely almost immediately. Isn't there somebody in the local media in Toronto that told us something was going to happen? Tweeted it out. Sources. Didn't happen. Did that person apologize? Or at least to their followers say, hey, it won't happen again. The next tweet I make is going to be the truth. I don't think that's happened. Mark Cuban of the Dallas Mavericks hasn't played the national anthem all year at Dallas Mavericks home games. Nobody noticed till recently. And a racist whose name had been on a major award gets voted out. Right? Huge move by the Baseball Writers Association of America, finally recognizing that the trophy that they were handing out, the award that they were handing out, the revered award that they were handing out was named after a racist.
Wow.
I'm not one of those people. The racists, I mean, despite what some people think. Let's say hi to Mike, Toronto Mike.
Hello, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day. I believe that's what the weekend coming up.
That's it. Right. It's my brother's birthday today, by the way.
Happy birthday to Hebsy's brother.
Normally we get together for a meal or something like that. Now it's like, come on, we'll go for a walk in minus 10 degrees. Talk, grab a coffee, but walk with it.
Yeah, and I heard
sit on the sidewalk.
Snow squalls or something in the forecast here. So bundle up, layer up, get out there.
All right. Wilner, you want to talk about Wilner?
Yeah, okay, let's talk about Mike Wilner. This is good news for our buddy Mike Wilner.
So first of all, I guess I've adopted this sports media critique discussion because there's just so much going on, and especially this week really accelerated it the last couple of weeks.
Well, Hebsy, I was going to point out that you've been the go-to anchor for the Toronto Mike sports media roundtables for several years now. So you've been appointed
that I come cheap.
I pay you in red lager from Great Lakes beer, but honestly,
and
you are
Palma pasta. Don't You owe me
And Palm,
one.
I owe you. I owe you several.
involved with
I owe you several.
Palma pasta.
But I will say that you, what you do, which a lot of people don't, is you aren't afraid to tell it like it is. Like you have no fear of burning a bridge, or like you're not worried about getting that next contract from Bell Media. You basically are. You tell it like it is, and that's what we're missing in this landscape.
Oh, those bridges went down in a firefight a long time ago. A long time ago. Cannot be repaired. You know, it wasn't that long ago. Episode, I'm trying to think, 180 something or whatever, where we're talking about all the changes at Rogers Media. Remember?
Sure.
Don Cherry,
Yeah.
Bob McCowan, John Shannon, Nick Kiprios, Doug McLean. I'm sure I'm missing some people. Tons. And then a while after that, Mike Wilner let go from Rogers Fan 590 Blue Jays broadcast after like 2 decades covering the Jays. I'm talking pregame show, postgame show, in the booth, the reporter. Well, yesterday, Wilner announces that he's joined the Toronto Star and is going to be doing what he does best. And unfortunately, that's not play-by-play or color in the booth. That's talking about, writing about, passionately about the Toronto Blue Jays. That's what he does best.
Right.
So it's a great move by the Star because now the shackles are taken off Wilner. He's not an extension of the Jays PR department. I'm not okay, that's harsh. He wasn't an extension, but he was limited to what he could say when it came to critiquing.
Right.
And the Cito Gaston episode of a decade ago, where Gaston basically said, get rid of this guy. And they said to him, listen, Mike, you can't, I think they suspended him.
Yep.
It was humiliating for him. You're taken off the air for some games because you dared criticize Cito Gaston. And he bounced back, it's all right. You want to keep your job, you're going to have to kind of be this way. And I guess he had to tone that down somewhat, although on the pre and post game, or on the post game shows, Jay's talk, wild. It's great. Personality. You don't like it, too bad. Hanging up on people. I love that stuff.
Right.
And he's a polarizing force. So good that he's writing for the Star. No shackles. So if he needs to take shots, he can take shots. He's developed relationships with the players. Mm-hmm. Good move by the Star.
Oh, indeed.
However, the Athletic, why not them? I wonder if they approached Wilner or he approached them. Because they really have a gap in their Blue Jays coverage. No John Lott. No Andrew Stoughton. What, Myrtle's going to cover the Jays? Right? Analytics?
Right.
Well, 5-on-5, the Jays are terrific. 9-on-9.
Yeah, is there a Corsi stat for
Tuesdays.
baseball?
Corsi,
I don't know.
Pacoda?
Yeah. Right.
Right. So the Athletic, I think they're, and I apologize to Caitlin McGrath, I believe it is. Oh, no, I forgot.
My apologies. I don't subscribe. I don't know.
Oh, is it Caitlin? Oh, I'm sorry. I think it is. Yeah. She does the Jays, and she does a good job. But you got to have more than one writer. You got to have some, hardened veterans, I guess. Cigar chomping, tobacco chewing.
You need a John Lott.
We're not saying John Lott was a hard-living tobacco chew. Anyway, so whether Wilner was approached by the Athletic, vice versa. Anyway, great that he's with the Star, and I'm now subscribing to the Star.
Oh, good.
So I've it's $2.99 a month, I think it is, or $1.99 a month for 6 months.
It's a bargain.
I think you can get a mortgage at 0.05% with a subscription to the Star. It's called Star Tablet, isn't it?
Not anymore. No, that's long gone. That was called Star Touch. Okay, I just make sure you know it's gone.
I'm also going to subscribe to the Globe and Mail.
Okay, good. Support the journalism.
Digitally.
Good.
Yeah, I'm going to support the journalism. And the Athletic, I'm giving up my subscription, I think, to the Athletic. I'm disappointed in their unless they beef up their Jays coverage.
Well, I'll tell you what, when I do get Wilner in the backyard when the weather gets better, first question I ask him will be, did the Athletic approach you? Or maybe and I feel like Wilner grew up loving the Toronto Star. Like there might have been like this,
First of all, wait a second. Loving the Toronto Star. Look, come on. Anyone that grew up in Toronto, you read whatever newspaper it was, the Globe.
Sure, but you fell in love with
the Sun.
You fell in love with whatever
the paper you fell in love with. It was the columnists that were writing the stuff that you liked.
Same difference.
So when one jumped to another one, you jumped to that guy, right?
Sure.
I mean, Jim Hunt was at the Star, the Telegram. He jumped to the Sun and he jumped to this newspaper. I would follow Jim Hunt. So I don't think it's necessarily the newspaper itself. But the Star, of course, did have a fantastic sports section and hopefully will again. Anyway, goodbye to Brian Burke. Did we cut off Wilner? Anyway, good luck to Wilner. I'm looking forward to reading his stuff and getting into interactive with the fans.
Hebsy, it's a good
Brian Burke.
It's a good sports media story in a sea of bad sports media stories. That Wilner got a gig at
400 and some odd people get cut and one guy gets a job.
Right.
And we're talking about the guy that got the job because
Right.
everyone was saying after Mike was let go, you'll land on your feet. And he did. Good for him. And Brian Burke, I think he was playing Sportsnet like a Stradivarius. Brian Burke was like, this is great. I can just be who I am, gnarly, nasty, grumpy. And then if I get a phone call for a job, even though I told him I don't want to get back into hockey,
Right.
you don't have anything to worry about. Go ahead and promote me as the next Don Cherry, for podcasts, whatever, my segments. Go ahead. I'm more than happy. This is a guy that wouldn't have given the media 2 cents.
Right.
Always snarky answers, right? Didn't respect the media. Now he thinks he's in the media. Now he thinks he has the tools to be a media guy and that he looks good in front of the camera, that he's engaging. Bah. So he's gone. And Anson Carter, first game stepping in. And I'd seen Anson Carter on NBC. He's a good broadcaster. Right. And I've that's how long Anson Carter's been around for him. I covered him when I was doing Leaf games and such.
Wow.
But Anson's a good guy. He's a local guy from Scarborough. Went to University of Michigan. I believe he's in LA now, but I mean, I don't know what the deal is there. And you can do your hits from anywhere. Nobody, and Anson Carter in Los Angeles. He watched the game like everybody else. He wasn't at the game like everybody else. But his expertise, his enthusiasm, I think is fantastic. So we'll talk about him a little bit more later. But first, things I think we're getting a little too chummy at Sportsnet with Burke. Just a little too, hey, Burkey, funsy stuff. And a
lot of Burkey talk.
Not holding him really, to a higher standard. I mean, you're Brian Burke. You're Mr. Insider. Let's hear some stories. Let's get some really good stuff out of you. Why did you treat the media this way before you did? Why? And can we get him, into some arguments and some discussions where him and Elliott go at each other, or him and Anthony Stewart threaten to beat each other up, or him and BX, something like that. But instead, and he just played them like a violin, took advantage of his position as the next Don Cherry, ingratiated himself with his pals on the panel, told anyone listening he wasn't interested in getting back into hockey ops, and then boom, 12 games into the season? That's it. See you guys. So he's taken a job as the president of the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Did he definitively ever state, like, on the record, he was done with hockey operations, etc.?
Yeah, he pretty much on the record.
Well, like in public.
Yes.
I mean, okay.
Yes, he had said so.
Interesting.
He had been asked that question several times, and no, I'm good. No, I like the media. And even when he took the Pittsburgh job, I loved my job. If you loved it so much, why'd you? Well, of course, it's Pittsburgh Penguins. How can you say no to the Pittsburgh Penguins? Blah, blah, blah. Then all we saw was this ass kissing from Sportsnet. Do you think TSN had a shot at getting Brian Burke for any exit interviews when he took the job with the Penguins? No. TSN had its own problems last week.
Right.
Okay. The last thing on their mind was talking to a guy who just spent his time on Sportsnet. Now he's going over to the Penguins. What a non-story that was for TSN. Brian Burke was all over the broadcast. He did the pregame interview with Chris Simpson. They had an intermission interview, and then they had the outtakes from the original interview where he tells a story. I could not believe this about John Tortorella. Well, Torch told me never to tell this story, but I'm going to tell it anyway. Hey, man. I mean, as much as I dislike John Tortorella, someone tells you something in confidence. The reason they acted that way, and the reason was because his son who was in the military, was about to get his assignment to go to war. And that's why he snapped it. But he told Burke, but please don't tell anybody. And here's Burke telling everybody on national television. What the heck is that?
Yeah.
Can you imagine Tortorella going, oh my God, I cannot believe I told Burke something in confidence. He hasn't said a word about it in how many years? And now he decides to tell the story just because and that was the outtakes. Did Burke not go, hey, Bubba, don't put that part in there?
Maybe he texted
Tortorella.
Now
that he's the new president of the Pittsburgh Penguins, now he decides to drop this bombshell. Why not tell that story on the panel so people are going, wow, what a story. What else has Burkey got? So sick of him.
I got to ask you this. Are you going to miss Burkey, the sports commenter on Sportsnet? Are you going to miss that character?
What character? This is the same guy, the same sourpuss that dissed the Penguins because they had a lottery pick and got Sidney Crosby. Oh, they got Sidney Crosby.
Right.
Who couldn't do well with that team if they got Sidney Crosby? And now he's their GM. And they even ran clips of him saying that stuff. And he was like, well, that was then. And like, he's not accountable. Same guy who bitched and complained about everything when he was the Leafs GM. Every day. The guy looked constipated. Seriously. The guy looked like, I wish I could go to the toilet. That's that look. Nobody likes that type of look. No one wants to look at on television a puss like that. If it's just his voice, all right, he's ornery. But to look at that guy, cut to Brian. Oh, geez, don't cut to Brian. Cut back to Kevin.
I'll be honest.
Cut back to Ron. Cut back to David Amber. Don't cut to Burke. And if you do, don't have him on camera for more than about 3 seconds with that puss. Let's put some visuals over top of it, that whatever he's talking about, right? Sweeten it up visually. But I can't look at the guy.
I'm with you. I actually would stop watching because he was so miserable, and I'd be like, "Is this like a entertainment? Is this supposed to be entertainment about a hockey game?"
Painful to watch. So good for him. Him and Ron Hextall, I'm sure, and they hate Ron Hextall in Pittsburgh. Right. I'm sure it's going to be a fun group as they see Malkin and Crosby and Letang say goodbye to Pittsburgh.
Right.
Good for you.
Oh man.
Great to see Anson Carter taking a slot. Let's hope it's a permanent move. He's enthusiastic. He's articulate. He's knowledgeable. He's a nice guy. And Burke wasn't a nice guy. Didn't appear to be a nice guy.
Right.
And meanwhile, Mike, John Shannon makes an appearance on Rogers. He's on the Rogers West telecast of the Oilers-Senators game, which is blocked out in Ontario.
Okay.
All right. With Gene Principe. I see a picture tweeted. It's good to be home.
Wow.
It's a shot at him on the set with Gene Principe. And then the next day he's on Hockey Central at noon.
Wow.
On the Rogers radio network, I guess.
You want to hear a fun real-time comment from a listener before we get your take on this?
Yeah, let's go.
So Brian's watching on Facebook. He goes, Shannon back on Sportsnet, the last person they needed or I wanted back. So there's a shot from Brian who's watching us live.
Yeah,
not a Shannon fan.
Is McCowan coming back to Sportsnet? Doug McLean coming back? What about Glenn Healy? He coming back?
No, that ship sailed too long ago. I think that's
you done. Never know.
You never know.
If they make changes, look, TSN made all these changes. Sorry, Bell Media made all these changes at the top. And Mike, I don't care what business it is. When a new management team comes in, they want their people. They want their generals. They want their hitmen, their capos, their people. They feel comfortable. So there's more changes coming, man. And I think, like I mentioned to you about 5 years ago, a friend of mine at TSN said he was scared that every time he walked into the building with his pass card, that it wasn't going to work, that he had heard horror stories.
Right.
Of, what's wrong? Like, and I remember when I got let go, the first lady to go, the first one in the office, went to log on to her computer and couldn't log on. And then within 5 seconds, 2 big burly security guards were there.
Right.
And that was it. Now, excuse me. I got a letter. First of all, Jay Onright, a great job again, and felt really bad. And Dan O'Toole went on, basically, should I mention the hashtag when I'm talking about mental illness? Should I use that hashtag with that company? It was a very precarious tweet.
Oh, this is Dan O'Toole, just to be clear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So people don't think that's.
And
Jay.
you're wondering too, when the word came down that Dan was gone and producer Tim was gone and Brandon, their head writer, was gone, and that Jay was staying. Mm-hmm. How did that turn out? What must have that been like? All right, man, you soldier on for the rest of us. Carry the torch. But in the meantime, I can't let this go the way I was treated. I have to say something on social media. That's my thing. And even people were going, Dan, don't do it. Don't do it. And he's like, no, man, I have to do it. Because I think it's therapeutic. I think if you keep that in, your anger at the way you were treated, not so much that you're fired. It happens. But the way you were treated, like thrown out like yesterday's trash, like you're a number. I'm sorry, what's your account number, sir, with Bell?
Okay. Now, Dan has a reputation for going off on social media, maybe without giving a sober second thought, as they say. Did he delete those? I saw the string of tweets, very like about going off on Bell Media for the Let's Talk hypocrisy. But I wonder. I haven't checked lately. I wonder if he at some point deleted those, but I haven't checked. So.
I don't know, but I know this: he's unbridled now, and that's good. You need to be able to say what's on your mind, and like I say, it's therapeutic to say, all these years after the way I was treated, that's got to hurt, and it's going to take a while to rectify that in your own mind. You don't just, next week, okay, I'll get another job. Yep, that happened. That was a lot of time spent in your life, and it never ends well. But geez, not like that.
Right. Right.
One of the listeners on.
Oh, I'm so sorry, but this came up in a chat on your Facebook page last week, I believe. But that, like, one of the reasons they fire, Dan and not Jay, or not both together, like they don't dump them both out, is because that duo that they spent millions promoting over the last several years is now broken up. Like they cannot do anything together. As so long as Jay wants to keep making his Bell Media paycheck, there cannot be a Jay and Dan in any form anywhere at this time.
I think we should do some research as to what happens when duos break up.
Mm-hmm.
What happens to the surviving members? Does one go on to, duos? Simon and Garfunkel broke up. Paul Simon went on to great things.
Yeah.
Right? Do we have an example of that in sports media, for example? Jim and I broke up. We were together 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
And Jim soldiered on. Him and Gene Principe for a number of years, and then Don Martin. But anyway, I think we can both agree that it wasn't the same as the magic that we had together.
And two examples off the top of my head real quick is that basically Jesse and Gene had successful careers in other ways, but really even now today they're trying to be Jesse and Gene again, because that's sort of
Humble and Fred.
Humble and Fred's a great example. They they really did realize that they were better together and
Yes.
had more success as a duo.
Yes. That's right. The sum is greater than the parts.
So at some point, when Jay's finished with his Bell Media career, that could be the rebirth of the Jay and Dan, whatever it is.
Think about this: Tim and Sid, Jay and Dan. How many sports duos, TV duos, let's say, spent more than 10 years together?
Right.
I mean, you've got Jennifer Hedger and Darren Detition. But even they work with other people and they work solo,
mm-hmm.
right? They're on the desk with highlights and updates during hockey games, stuff like that. But their show is on. Is it on at the same time every night? It's not, is it? That's another thing. They're together on the early evening, not the late night, not the late night, but the 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock or whatever time that's on Sports Center. Sometimes they do a couple of reboots because they might come on after the Jays game or a Raptors game or whatever, and then they do a reboot to fill out the hour. I don't know. But they've been together for a long time, right?
Right.
Now, if they were to, at some point, and they're not going to be together forever, if they were to break up, in other words, if they weren't going to be co-anchoring the show,
mm-hmm.
Jen would do her thing, Dutchie would do his thing, would it be the same?
Well, it's different to me because that's not an established duo brand. Like to me,
it's not.
I don't think
you don't think so?
We see them. No, I don't think so. Like nobody talks about I don't know, Jennifer and Darren, or like there's no how you have Jay and Dan,
Dutch
Humble
and Jen are not like Jay and Dan.
No,
20 years together. No,
not branded that. No marketing efforts to brand them as a duo. That's another question for others, but I don't consider them a duo in the same regard. But I will say, like Loggins and Messina. Okay, this is the thing. Kenny Loggins had some great solo success in the '80s. So there's another example.
Sonny and Cher.
Yeah, Cher didn't need Sonny there. So.
Right, and those are musical duos. But in the realm of sports media, when you get two people together for a long period of time, and I don't care what it is or for what reasons, there's going to be friction. 7-year itch, 10 years together. But I think 10 years is probably a good measuring stick of if you can be successful in a duo for 10 years,
right?
You will have made a name for yourself. There's a brand there with that duo.
Mm-hmm.
If you go out on your own, you may likely be known as, for a long time, half of the duo that did this.
Right.
Right.
So let's find out. It'll be fun to watch what happens with Tim and Sid in this regard. Like, Sid's going off to a different, Rogers universe, if you will, a whole different thing. We'll see what happens with Tim without.
Well,
Sid
it's going to be Tim and Cabby.
Is that
and then
official?
Tim and Cabby
Or is
will
that a
end up
guess?
being a greater duo than Tim and Sid was. See, this is what could happen.
Okay.
Is that the Tim and Sid duo could be a stepping stone for Tim to hook up with a guy like Cabby, let's say, and really go like skyrocket. Their own Netflix series. You know what I mean?
Well, time will tell.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. No.
It's possible. Several listeners, viewers on YouTube expressed their displeasure at my comments about Natasha Stanishevsky. One person wrote, quote, "I think the way you spoke about Natasha was completely condescending. Maybe watch your tone and ask if you would have talked that way if she wasn't a woman," end quote. Mike, do you think that if Natasha was a man, I would have said the same things about her performance, critique their performance on air?
We literally just shit on Brian Burke and John Shannon in some regard. Like, I honestly don't think we're favoring males over females here. No, I don't think you would have said it any differently if Natasha was a man. And remind me, what did you say now? What did you say? That was misconstrued here.
I don't think I was condescending.
I don't think so.
People can interpret things their own way. They, what do you mean by that? Or
I thought you were just racist, Hebsy. I didn't think you were also misogynist.
Please.
I joke.
Don't
I joke.
like that.
Just
Listen,
joking.
It has nothing to do with gender. It has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with religion. It has nothing to do with whether you have a disability, your age,
sexual preference.
You know me. It's performance. Are you good? Are you the best that there can be at that position? Have you improved? And that's another thing. At this stage, I don't want to see somebody who's learning the job on the air. I don't want to see Vladimir Guerrero learning to play third base, although his bat certainly makes up for it. But the same way, I don't want to see a broadcaster make their mistakes at this level. Go do it on cable TV or on YouTube or at a small station somewhere or at a college station. Learn. Don't show me somebody that's, here's a national broadcaster is putting someone on the air that's just, it's cringeworthy.
Hebsy, how was Natasha chosen? Like, let's say they were going to choose somebody from that position at TSN. I'm just curious. You think it's just simply like is it just like her salary? Like, by all accounts, she's lovely to work with. She was good at her job. I just wonder how she was picked. Is it just a random thing? Do they roll a dice and say, okay, it's going to be Natasha?
I think you have to look at all the people, the on-air people that we know on Sportsnet and TSN. Let's take a look at all of them. Those who are studio hosts, those that do play-by-play, those that do color, analysts, those that are guests on a panel, those that have regular shows, those that are reporters. You have to take all of them and say, are they working enough hours that we can afford to keep them? And so my only thought is that they didn't have enough hours for Natasha. There weren't any hours for her. There's no regular Sports Center show that she's on. I don't know. Again, I'm not up at 2 a.m. to see.
Right.
And sometimes when I watch the morning loop, sometimes she's on. They had this other TSN thing when the pandemic hit, another digital service, Quibi.
Oh,
what was it called?
Quibi. Yeah,
Quibi?
quick bites.
That I think she was going to be a part of, and some of the other females at TSN were going to be the presenters.
Lindsay Hamilton, Kayla Gray.
Lindsay Hamilton, Kayla Gray, right. And so I guess they just sort of went, okay, what do we have for Natasha? She's not doing Raptor games. She's not doing Leaf games. She's not on the panel. She's not, I don't think, doing updates during the broadcasts. Do we have enough hours for her? And I guess the answer was, we don't.
Right.
And so what do you do with someone? You can't pay somebody if they don't have hours.
Makes sense.
And the only thing I can think of, because Kate Burness does the Raptor games.
Right.
And I think she does Sports Center as well. But again, it's random. It's a toss the coin. Now it's Jermaine Franklin during the evenings on Sports Center, I think. Is it weekend evenings or is it every night at times? I can't keep up. Anyway, it's got nothing to do with any of those things. It's are you good?
And maybe that McCain's money dried up because there was some McCain's money there.
Yeah. And maybe simply her performance didn't measure up. Maybe they just looked at her performance and said, it's, this person's better. This person's better. If we were to rate all the TSN personalities anchors, reporters, rate them all like they used to do in the newspapers years ago.
Sure.
With Global, City, CHCH,
Right.
TSN, CBC, and say, okay, here's your top personalities, the sportscasters. But now there's just so many of them.
Right.
Back in the day, there were 3 or 4. And of course, TSN had a bunch. Now there's how many? How many on-air people are there at Sportsnet and TSN?
And I got to be careful because
100.
Laura Dakin's dad lives across the street. So I got to.
But 100, right? There's got to be 100 people that we see on air.
Right.
If you include all the panelists and whatever, it's got to be.
Wow.
Let's rate them one day. How about that? Mm-hmm. So I'm watching the Leafs the other night. And as soon as the game is over, and this is on Sportsnet Ontario, I watch the Leaf games that are on Sportsnet. I watch them on Sportsnet Ontario. I'm from Ontario. I want the Ontario updates. I want, if they're going to do local cut-ins, regional cut-ins, it's got to be the Ontario stuff.
Sure.
I don't want to see the commercials from Calgary or Vancouver.
Right.
So as soon as the game's over, they throw to the Sportsnet studio. I think it's Cuthbert. Like, boom, now let's go to sports. Sorry, Chris. And here's Jesse Fuchs and Faisal Kamisa anchoring. Okay. The first thing they do is they throw right back to the studio. Right back. David Amber, Anthony Stewart, Elliott Friedman, a little wrap up, what do you think? What do you do? A little dance, a little song. Back to Sportsnet, they throw it. And now back to the anchors. We don't see them now. They're voicing over a Columbus Blue Jackets highlight package. And then there's this awkward pause. And then they reboot to start the show so they can welcome the viewers who are watching the Oilers Ottawa game. So I know that one of the anchors, the one that's talking, in his ear, the producer's going, welcome the Ottawa viewers. Because remember, Ottawa is also part of Ontario, but their games are blacked out in this region.
Right.
We're not in the Senators region.
Right.
So nobody could see the Ottawa game. But this is Sportsnet Ontario. And now these guys are going, we want to say hi to the people watching from Ottawa. Screw you people that are Leaf fans that have been watching the Leaf game all night and want to see highlights of other games. The hell with you. We're now welcoming the fans from Ottawa to our little show here. So they got to reboot.
Right.
And what do they do on the reboot? For those of you who are watching the Oilers Ottawa game, let's go back to Edmonton and say hello to Jack Michaels and Louis DeBrusque. And they cut to those guys and they do a nice wrap up of the Oilers game, little highlight package and and this guy did a great job. That guy did it. I really like Louis DeBrusque, and I had never seen this other fella, Jack Michaels. He's good too. This is Sportsnet Ontario, though. I'm going, who the hell cares? Give me back to the Leafs. Right? Where's the Sheldon Keefe press conference? Where's the Morgan Riley clips from Zoom? Where is all that stuff?
Right.
I don't give a crap for these guys. And so they throw back to the desk so that the folks that were watching the Oilers game, the Oilers Ottawa game, can now see the highlights of the Leaf game, which we've just seen. We've watched the game and we've watched the highlight package of the Leafs. And now we're going to see the Leaf highlight package again for these viewers from Ottawa and Edmonton. These humps. No, not from Edmonton, just from Ottawa.
Right.
Just the people in the Ottawa region. Get your own team. For crying out loud, Sportsnet has like 6 channels. Why? Do I have to see the Leaf highlights? I saw the game.
This is obviously bothering you, Hebsy. This is
and I'm going to see it again.
Right.
Before Raptor highlights, before other stuff. Come on.
Have you ever heard a Leaf fan, though, complain about watching, especially because the Leafs are winning? When the Leafs win, I find it effortless to watch the replays over and over again. It's when they lose, I don't want to see it multiple, No complaints, I'd say.
I know, but I'm watching, I'm from Toronto, I'm watching Sports in Ontario. You know me, I watch the Leaf games, I watch the Raptor games, I watch the Jays games, I watch TFC, I watch the local teams first. I don't care about the Ottawa Senators. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm not sorry. I don't follow them. I don't care. I could name you some players on the team, but it's not like it used to be where I'm sure you got to know all the players on every team. You got to know their numbers. You got to know their height and weight. You got to know what town they came from. You got to know where they played their junior. You got to know where they played their collegiate. You got to know what their grade point average was. You got to know the names of their mother, father, grandmother, and siblings. And if you don't know enough because that guy over there, he knows.
Right.
And that guy over there, he knows what his Corsi is and what his 5-on-5 face-off percentage is. He knows everything.
That's Jeff Marek. He knows that all.
I don't know that stuff. And speaking of which, Jeff Marek the other night is on the desk and Ron McLean is in his backyard with his kids playing hockey to promote Hockey Day in Canada.
TJ
Marek's
and Brody.
on the desk.
Right.
And he says, and now let's go to my home in Stouffville, Ontario, my backyard with my 2 kids, TJ and Brody.
Right.
And here's Ron McLean. It's too chummy. It should have been this way.
Mhm.
Ron McLean on the desk. Let's go to Jeff Marek in his backyard with his kids. You see how that should work? But Hockey Day in Canada, I don't know. I just thought that was just
Yeah, you know what? Of course you're right, but
odd. It was.
They probably flipped the trope, if you will, and said, "Wouldn't it be funny if it was Ron McLean with Jeff's kids and Jeff was working?"
And meanwhile, it's freezing cold out there, and you can, when it's cold and you're outside and you're trying to talk, and you know the feeling. You're like your lips are moving a certain way, but it doesn't come out the way you want it to. And after a while, it sounded that way with Ron. I don't know how long he was out there for, but it was cold in Stouffville that night. I'm thinking, let's go to Ron. He might have pre-taped one of the segments because it was like, it's freaking cold out here, right? Anyway, I digress.
I have just a couple of live comments because a lot of people watching you live, but just one comment that cabbies.
Should we just turn this into a
no,
live,
I like to
take phone calls and take.
I've been doing this for
in the middle of the show.
I sprinkle it in, like I try to find a spot, and I know you're segueing to a different topic, so this is a chance to just jump in and say that Jerry wants you to know that Cabby is happy in Las Vegas. So I don't know.
That's what they all say. Brian Burke was happy at Sportsnet too. Let me tell you something. And he had a little bit of do re mi, a chance to have a program. And him and Tim are buddies from a long way back.
For sure. And later in this program, are you going to be speaking about the TSN radio changes outside of this market?
Of course.
Okay, then I'll save Dr. Hockey's question for that. And just before we get you on your way, Andrew Ward wants to know, did you listen to Al Strachan on Toronto Mike? And what did you think of his Brian Burke story?
No, I didn't listen to Al Strachan. I don't think Al likes me. And so if I don't think he likes me, then I'm not interested in listening.
He doesn't like anybody, I don't think. I think he's got.
Well, then if he doesn't like anybody, then no.
Okay.
I mean, Al used to write about me a lot, and something happened. See, that's another thing. Somewhere along the way, if I start thinking, why doesn't this guy return my calls, or why doesn't he want to talk to me, or whatever it is, I would drive myself crazy, Mike, trying to figure out what was it that I said or did that might have upset this guy. Right. Certain people get upset a lot easier than others. They're more sensitive. I could be racking my brains going, why the heck doesn't he want to? I know people like that too.
Right.
Why doesn't he like me? Sure. What was it? And then I realize it's quite possible that I said something that he didn't like as far in a critique. It's quite possible.
Well, then you and Burke have something in common here because Strachan and Burke have quite the thing going there too. But okay, just quite
Burke's got stuff going with everybody.
So that was for Andrew.
Strachan had some issues also, but listen,
oh my God, yeah,
that's what happens when you're controversial.
Right.
And if you ever read his columns in the Globe and Mail first, and even before that, when he was on radio in Montreal,
right,
he had a good show. He had an overnight show in Montreal. I used to listen to it. He's good. He's controversial. He looks at things and goes, wait a minute. He asks good questions. Good journalist. But he doesn't like me. So if he doesn't like me, why am I going to listen?
All right, fuck Al Strachan. Fuck him. It was very interesting. His story about that's me talking. But very interesting his story about Brian Burke and Tiger Williams on a military flight. So there's an Al Strachan. Cool. So go find Al Strachan on Toronto.
Episode number 800?
It's earlier than that. It's like, I don't know, 790 or something. I can't remember the number, but find Al Strachan on Toronto Mike.
This podcast is brought to you by Toronto Mike.
Sort of.
Listen to the Al Strachan episode.
That was Andrew Ward who put that question out there. So
thank you, Andrew, for that. Thanks for getting us off the rails here.
Okay.
By the way,
yeah,
I was thinking of going after Quest Trade as a sponsor for Hebsy on Sports. And then I realized even if they offered me $1 million, I would say no, because those commercials are killing me. Those commercials make me feel so stupid, so inadequate.
Right.
Guy comes over to another guy's place. Wow, this is not. I'll never get a down payment for this. Hey, don't talk like that. It's possible. How about the one with the two brothers? You're not still with mom and dad's financial guy, are you? And the guy, that tight ass guy, he has a look and he gulps like. And I'm like, you two guys seem to be. First of all, you're sitting in looks like a nice apartment, nice big place.
Yeah.
Mom and dad must have done pretty well with their financial guy. Pretty well. Right. To put you in a position where you can go, oh, you're not using mom and dad's guy, huh? That beautiful house you grew up in, the cars you were driving, that's because mom and dad's guy turned them into the right investments. You jerk.
Okay, Hebsy, you're damn on because you're right on because that whole campaign is targeting your kids, and they don't give an F what you think because they know you're using a guy, but they're looking for the 20-somethings 30
that
something.
don't have to pay these exorbitant fees.
But then they
of
just
course,
go
to
buy
the experts.
GameStop or whatever. Like they're just, that's the
That's
danger
all.
of running your own show.
So the commercials are offensive. Not as offensive, though, as watching the Leafs and Habs from the Bell Center. The Bell Center, the Centre Bell, and on their helmets, Bell. And this is the company, Bell, that just chopped and mutilated like 500 people with robocalls, and with some of them finding out via members of the media or social media.
Eek.
That's just distasteful. And I said so in a tweet that I just found it distasteful watching that. I just thought it was offensive, man. And am I wrong to think that way?
Well,
that the company that just did this, that they're public enemy number one for a while anyway, and now their name is slapped all over this team and that arena, and
well, Bell knows that it's the 0.001% that have even like caught wind of this, evil Bell carnage or whatever, and they know that they're just trying to move, internet and mobile phone subscriptions. That's it. Like that's that, and some cable TV packages from Bell Fiber or whatever. So right. That's all they care about. I don't know why they're in the media business, but we'll save this for later.
Save everything for later.
Well, I know it's coming up. It's coming up when you do the 1050. The TSN radio thing.
I have a feeling that the fan has to bolster their lineup, because the fact that TSN did not cut anything or anybody at TSN 1050 means the battle is still on, right? Like in Vancouver, Sportsnet 650 doesn't have to worry anymore.
Right.
Hey, guess what? There's only one of us now. In Winnipeg, even though there was only one TSN station, all sports, CJOB does a lot of sports. That's the number one station in Winnipeg. So they're pretty happy now. They can talk sports at their own leisure. They can have a little, a 2-hour show here or whatever. They can hire some of the people that were let go by these other stations and make their lineup rock solid. In Hamilton, that's not going to happen because it was only half a radio station to start with anyway. But if you're working for a TSN station in these other markets, how are you supposed to feel? For now, okay, you guys survived this round of cuts. But by the way, our contract with the local hockey team ends in a couple of years, and then who knows?
Okay, let's talk about 1050, because that's obviously most people listening want to.
I wanted to talk about the fans.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Changes.
No,
they've got to make changes.
Yes.
They got to replace Wilner in the booth. Number one, I think.
With a former player,
with the morning
right?
show.
Right.
So why don't you take Scott MacArthur and give him Wilner's gig, because he's a baseball guy anyway?
Because they want a former player, I think. I think they want a former player in there. What do you think about that? Well, I don't know, but I know.
You don't know.
I know just what Jerry Howard said. I think the color or the analyst position would be, because you could have Ben Wagner can be your play-by-play, and then put a former player in the booth as the color or the analyst, like a Joe Siddle type.
I tell you what, I think you add Siddle to the television broadcast, you do a simulcast.
Well, that's the cheapest way. So
that's what they're going to do, aren't they? No, they're going to say, okay, let's replace Wilner's salary right now.
But then what do you do with Wagner?
Like, Wagner?
Like, if you're simulcast...
He's a non-entity. So you could change... I honest to God, I swear to you, Mike.
No, I mean...
You could say, tune the game in on Fan 590. You would hear a different voice than Ben Wagner. Mm-hmm. And not one person would go, hey,
no,
where's Ben Wagner?
I'm with you, actually. I totally agree with you. But of course, if you're simulcasting...
It's sad, isn't it? And I'm sorry. And I don't mean it to be that Ben Wagner's a bad broadcaster. He's not. He just isn't a well-known Toronto guy. He spent many years doing the Buffalo Bison's game, and he was, what's the word? Elevated.
Promoted?
To the position of major league play-by-play because of his 10 years or so in the minors with the Buffalo team. He was rewarded for his time in the minors. Elliott Price was available. Many hundreds and hundreds. Wait a second. It might be 1,000 Major League Baseball games, Montreal Expos games. The guy called 2 perfect games on radio. He's working at the Fan 590. He's there. What the hell? What were they thinking of? Honest to God, when they said, "Oh, you don't fit." But this guy Ben Wagner, he's been in Buffalo for 10 years. Was that the biggest clusterfuck? I mean, the guy had Major League Baseball experience.
Is that
he
an
knew
example
all about
of
the Jays?
Is that an example of ageism?
Oh, it's got nothing to do with it.
No,
Vince
you don't
Scully
think so?
Game till he was 95 years old.
I think Rogers wanted.
No, not for a play-by-play.
Okay.
When you ascend to the top play-by-play job, right? You are a veteran major league broadcaster. You can come in from minor leagues and be the number 2 guy for a while and then move from number 2 to number 1. When that guy goes, that's a natural thing. But Elliott Price had all kinds of experience and in fact was this close to getting the job with the Washington Nationals. And when Tom Cheek was ill in 2005, I mean, he was there. He was available. He was ready. And I think was trying to negotiate with the Jays. Well, we can't do that. I mean, Tom's scheduled to do a bunch of games next year. Apparently the doctors were like, "Are you kidding? He's terminal." So they dragged their heels there. But I mean, and again, I've never met Ben Wagner before, and he's fine. But I'm sorry, he sounds like a Buffalo Bison's announcer, okay? I would have much rather heard Elliott Price, Expos announcer, Canadian guy, available, doing a show. I think he was doing a show out of Montreal at the time, but was available.
Right. Okay, so it sounds
and then ended up at the Fan and ended up doing a morning show with Greg Brady when he should have been the play-by-play guy or in the booth with Jerry Howarth.
So in 2021, what you would do is you would take Scott MacArthur off the Fan 590 morning show. You'd put him in the booth with Ben Wagner, who has the gig for play-by-play right now.
No.
Okay,
I would put him in the booth with Ben Wagner.
Okay. Who's in the booth with him if he's in the booth? Who's Scott?
Get Elliott Price for crying out loud.
Oh, I see.
Get me somebody that's got major league experience.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then form a duo, and then say, do these people have chemistry together? Or go and select 2 people that you think would work well together, and audition them together, and let them hang out together. Do some mock games together. Develop a relationship. Dan and Buck have known each other for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. It's easy. It's natural. Buck was the play-by-play guy. Buck was the color man. Dan was the play-by-play guy. Then Buck did play-by-play and Dan. Then they share. Come on. They know each other. But it took a while to develop the relationship. Okay? The Ben Wagner-Mike Wilner relationship didn't work. And so Wilner was the fall guy. Wagner should have been the fall guy.
Maybe that was do-re-mi.
Maybe it was. Anyway, I think there's going to be some changes. Greg Sansoni's not going to sit around and let the Fan fall any deeper in the ratings and let TSN catch up to them.
Hebsy, I think your allusion a moment ago to the simulcast, which I think a lot of the purists and people like you and I are like, it's different. We love baseball on the radio, and it's different than the TV call, and you can't change that. They paint a picture, blah blah blah. But it's inevitable, right? At some point, that's the move to save money. And how many Jays fans would complain if it was, let's say, Dan Shulman and Buck Martinez on the radio, even if it was the simulcast of the Sportsnet call?
They wouldn't. And the reason for that is that the radio duo or whoever your radio announcers aren't strong enough that people are going to miss them. And they love Dan and Buck. And so to listen to Dan and Buck, if they can't see Dan and Buck, is the next best thing.
So maybe that's what's going to happen. Like, they haven't made any announcements otherwise.
There may be an issue with Major League Baseball in that you have to have a separate broadcast.
Interesting. That's an interesting perspective.
That doesn't preclude the Jays from eventually having their own app and controlling all the audio themselves, like the San Jose Sharks are doing. I think the Oakland A's are doing it. If you want to listen to the games, you have to listen to our audio. The Ticats, I think, are going to do it now. I'm not sure they're going to go back to CHML radio. I think they're just going to say, you know what? We own the content. We are providing the audio service. All you have to do is have an app, or you can go online. But how about that?
Okay, fine.
But why go through a middleman? Why go through an over-the-air station
because
that
you
people
own
aren't
it.
Listening to?
Like, you own it. And it helps with your
Yeah.
morning show, because this will be a good Jays team. This will help with the morning show.
You own it, man. You own the content.
But you own the station. Like, you own 590 because it's a Rogers station, and they know
Well, that's
the
different.
boost.
You own an over-the-air station, but the
Right.
Ticats don't own a station.
Ticats are
Right?
after.
They have to negotiate rights. Not that, and the other thing is they already screwed CHML years ago when they jumped to TSN 1150,
Right.
which nobody listened to except for Ticat games.
Right.
Anyway.
Right.
Now, so you're in Vancouver. You got 2 sports radio stations. You don't have Grizzlies anymore, but you've still got the Canucks, which are huge. You've got the Whitecaps, which are very big. You got the BC Lions, which are pretty popular too. And you got the Seattle Seahawks nearby, and you got the Seattle Mariners, and you got the Jays, even though they're not in Vancouver. A lot of sports talk in Vancouver. And now you find out that after listening to a station for 20 years and getting used to hearing the personalities, the voices, like they're your friends, suddenly the station goes belly up. I mean, they didn't fire a few people. They didn't change the morning show around. They wiped out the entire station, the entire format. Veterans like Don Taylor and Blake Price, very well-known people in that area for years, were among the dozens of talented people who lost their jobs. TSN 1040 played Green Day's Good Riddance as their final on-air song before switching formats. They didn't realize that the name of the song is not I Hope You Had the Time of Your Life.
Right.
It's called Good Riddance, Idiots. Same thing for Winnipeg, Hamilton's TSN, Winnipeg and Hamilton's. And I mentioned the Troy Westwood story. He was a fixture on 1290 TSN in Winnipeg. And he had no idea what happened until a reporter called him and asked for a comment. A comment on what?
Right.
Well, you didn't hear what happened? No. Other people got robocalls. A friend of mine at TSN said that
Oh my God.
got a robocall.
Wow.
This is Bell Media. You have been terminated.
That's the worst, Heads. That's the worst.
A package. You will.
Like,
wow.
Not even your direct report calling you up and saying, hey, I'm really sorry. Because in COVID times, you can't put them in a room like they did at the CHCH. So,
right. I got a lot of people, talking about how horrible it is to be fired. Not just in this business, but in any situation. But the folks who told the stories from this business were the most heartbreaking stories. How so many people have been let go from their jobs in media, and how they were treated, how they found out about it, how they were lied to in advance. And I thought about, if you were a boss and you knew something was coming down and you cared about someone personally, could you really keep that to yourself until the cutthroat bean counters went in and just eviscerated everyone? I don't think I could. I think I would say, look, I like you too much. I'm going to give you a heads up. Everybody's going to be gone. Go find another gig. Send out your tapes now. Could you not do that? If you were a boss, you looked at someone and says, and this guy's going to get caught with his pants down. He's got a wife, 3 kids, a mortgage. His daughter needs braces, and we're going to drop the hammer on this dude, and he's going to get like 3 months severance and not going to be able to find a job. If I give him a heads up, can he find something? Can he find a way to cushion the blow? Or does he tell everybody?
It's risky, man.
Do it,
it's risky, buddy.
How do you do it?
Because if this person you tell reacts in a way that reveals that they were told, it's your ass on the line, and as you know, because you're
right.
There's not a lot of jobs for you either. Like, it's really risky.
That's right, and that's why it's a really shitty feeling. And I'm sure for a Jay on rate to maybe know, maybe they said, listen, Jay, it's coming down. You're okay, but.
I think I actually am of the opinion that they probably did not tell Jay because of how close Jay is with Dan, and that it's unfair for Jay to keep that secret from his good friend Dan O'Toole.
Well, maybe they told him first.
Yeah, I don't know.
Prepared,
maybe simultaneously.
Because you're going to have to deal with.
Like, hi, Jay. Currently, someone else is on the phone with Dan, letting him know that was his last Sports Center appearance.
So I thought about this, and I thought, my expression, it never ends well. And how everyone's lost, not everyone, but in fact, I know quite a few people that have never lost a job. They left a job,
right,
but they never were fired, laid off, whatever. And so maybe they're not aware of the terrible feeling, humiliating feeling, especially if you're in a business where you're recognizable, you're
right.
media.
Right.
What happened to you? Didn't you used to be this? What are you doing now? Stuff like that. What happened? What happened? Why did they let you go? And then you get this now, of course, on social media when someone is let go, the outpouring of emotion from the followers.
Right.
Everyone feels as if it's like signing when you go to a funeral and you sign the guest book, right? It's tough, man. And then a couple of days later, you've forgotten.
Well, that's it. It's got a 48-hour shelf life, that whole outpouring on social media.
So I was thinking about my career in media, and I kind of jotted a few things down. And if you'll bear with me here, the first job I ever had on the air, I was an all-night disc jockey in Kitchener. In fact, I was on the air the night Elvis Presley died. I reported it and then played, 20 hours of Elvis music. I went to the record library and grabbed every Elvis album and just played it all night long.
Wow.
And then a few months later, I'm listening to the station and I hear the announcer go, and join us this Saturday night, the Jim O'Connell show on CKKW. And I'm like, wait a minute, Saturday night's that's my show. And that's how I found out. I was 19 years old. It was my first on-air job. It was weekends, overnights, Kitchener. I don't even know how much money it was. It doesn't matter. But I found out listening to the station on the air. And then I phoned the next morning, and the boss wouldn't talk to me.
Wow.
His secretary said, well, I'm sorry, I don't know. And then I got a envelope in the mail with my final paycheck or something.
It was no better.
So that was the start of the business. I'm like, whoa, that's harsh, eh?
It's a valuable lesson.
How do they normally do it if you get fired up? What's the usual procedure?
Well, normally in non-COVID times, of course, normally it's hey, you book a meeting. Can you meet with me? Your boss would be like, can you meet with me at 10 a.m. in the boardroom or whatever? And you'd be in there, and the boss would come in with an HR rep or somebody else, so the two would come in, and they'd have a folder in their hand, and they sit down and go, I'm afraid we've made a difficult decision, and we're going to let you go. And they do the spiel, and they say, here's your paper. You please review it and have it back to us by whatever, and we're willing to offer whatever. So it's all in the papers. You have your lawyer look at it, whatever. Like, it's that kind of spiel in non-COVID times.
You never get a chance to say goodbye either.
Once in a while, Bobcat got to say goodbye.
That's true. I did as well. Okay, so that's the first job. So I find out on the air, on the station I work for, that my show has been replaced by someone else. Right. Second job was at the CBC. Okay, in the summer during the Olympics, I got called in. They handed me an envelope. Thank you very much. Open the envelope. You're hereby terminated. Last check, whatever it was. Thanks very much. Next job I had was in Niagara Falls working in radio. My boss was so drunk. This guy was such a drunk that he handed me a letter. It was a termination letter. And the letter read, the bearer, Mark Shebster. Oh. Like, he didn't even know my name. And I still have the letter. Mark Shebster. I'm like, this drunk is firing me. He doesn't even know my name. And he's typing it. So that's how I found out that. Another envelope with the wrong name on it. Then I'm at CKFH 1430. I'm working for Bob McCowan. I'm doing sportscasts. And one day, my boss, also an alcoholic, funny for that, says to me, we're having a huge tribute to Foster Hewitt, the owner of the radio station. And there are going to be speeches and testimonials, and then Mr. Hewitt's going to get up, and it's going to be a couple of hours worth. I want you to tape this, audio tape, the whole thing, and then I want you to edit it down to 15 minutes, let's say, and we're going to run it on our 6 o'clock news or something like that.
Right.
So you got to take now 2 hours of tape, and this is back in the day. This is on cassette tape.
Right. So
now I have to take this, transfer it to reel when I get to the radio station, and then physically edit with a razor blade and a 45-degree angle cut. I have to splice. No electronic editing.
Right.
Physically splice the parts out and splice together from 2 hours worth to 15 minutes. And I had already done the morning sports run, and I'm supposed to do the afternoon sports run. So this is going to be like a 14-hour day.
Wow. And
I'm in no shape to do this. And so I say, after a while, I got to go home for a nap. And I'll be back and I'll edit it. And he says, no, you got to finish this and run it up to Mr. Hewitt so he can see. And I go, no. Anyway, long story short, I can't even, I'm dead on my feet, because normally I would do a split shift. I'd do the morning sports run till 9 a.m. go home, have a bite to eat, nap for a couple of hours, and be back in the afternoon for 2:30 or 3 o'clock to prepare for the afternoon sports. It's called a split shift in radio. So I'm dead on my feet. It's like 2 in the afternoon, and I haven't gotten home for a nap. So I go home, and I pass out, and my phone rings, and I answer it, and it's my boss. And he's like, "You get your ass down here." And I didn't get down in time and didn't get it edited, and he fired me.
Wow.
I got fired for that.
Wow.
And what happened was, I was talking to a friend of mine, the late, great Randy Eklund, former judge, former lawyer. He was my agent, became my agent, big Bluejays fan, huge supporter of the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, sat on the board. And Randy said to me, "Well, they can't do that to you. They can't fire you without cause." I went, "Well, I guess the cause was I disobeyed orders." And he said, "That's not good enough." And so we filed suit against the radio station for wrongful dismissal, and we won.
Oh, good.
So that's sort of when I went, wait a minute, they can't treat me that way. You can't just fire someone. Now, I don't know the details of all the bell cuts, but I'm sure they did it by the letter of the law in that they gave them proper severance,
Sure.
so as that they wouldn't run into any problems after the fact. And if necessary, there were non-disclosures or whatever. But back then, it was, you're fired.
Right.
That's it. So we won a wrongful dismissal case. Now, but here's the best part. Is prior to that, I had applied for...
You cut out, Hebsy.
Unemployment insurance, EI.
Okay, yes.
And this boss of mine who had fired me hated me so much that he had contacted EI and told them not that I shouldn't be paid because of my attitude or some big thing, like he doesn't deserve it. That he's
cause, like
lazy.
Like they don't have to pay you maybe if you're fired for cause or something like that.
Yeah. So his thing was, they don't pay him because he was fired because he didn't work or whatever it was. But and they had never heard of this before, that someone actually had contacted them to refuse paying employment insurance. Right.
Yeah.
So they set up a tribunal, and I had to go to this tribunal, and I had to state my case as to why I deserved employment insurance, unemployment insurance.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to be there representing his side. So I'm nervous as hell and sit in front of these three people, and I show up to do my thing, and he never shows up. So I won the case, didn't win the case. I ended up getting my benefits.
Right.
Then we won the wrongful dismissal case from these bastards. How's that?
Woo, man.
But wait.
Yeah, there's more.
It gets better. It gets better. I'm working for CJCL a couple years later. I'm doing a sports phone-in show. We got Jays, we got Leafs. But remember, they're our partners. I'm doing a phone-in show, a talk show, but they're still our partners, right? We make our money from them. We have to pay for the rights. But they can also, Harold Ballard can also say what's on his mind. I don't like that guy. I don't like that guy. Fire that guy, stuff like that. So I get fired. And I go to my good friend and agent, lawyer, Randy Eklund, and I say, here's what happened. And he goes, ooh, that's another wrongful dismissal. They can't just fire you. They can't just fire you because of bad ratings.
Well, to be clear, they can, of course, but they have to sever you fairly is the big catch there. Right.
They can't fire you without severance. You've got to, if you're going to let someone go, you have to pay off the rest of their contract, or you have to pay them so that they can have time to find another job.
Right.
But they didn't. So we another wrongful dismissal case, we won again.
Wow.
And as soon as this happens, I get a call from, I can't mention the names of them because it's disclosed, two very popular Toronto media personalities. And both of them ask me the same. Can I have the phone number of your lawyer, agent, Randy Eklund, the late, great Randy Eklund?
Right.
And both of them contacted him, and both of them won large, much larger than mine, wrongful dismissal cases against their employers.
Wow.
Bastards.
Love to know those names.
Can't tell you. You know one of them, you don't know the other one.
Okay.
All right. Are we done with sports media? Did you have some more questions or comments? Or was there something
How
else
long?
that
Yeah, there were
missed
a bunch here. I know we're
Tell me.
in overtime here, but is it Dr. Hockey wants to know, do you think 1050 TSN is safe? Like, and for how long if TSN's 1050 is safe?
As long as they have the rights to games.
Yeah, and but they own the teams, like 37.5%.
That's what I'm saying. As long as
Okay.
they've got, there are Leaf games over their airwaves, there are Raptor games over their airwaves, there are Argonaut games, whenever that happens, over their airwaves. Yeah, they're okay. They have to be the crown jewel of the TSN radio network. There's not, what's left? Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, which may be on shaky ground.
Right.
You've had a few people already leave places to go sort of sideways in that market. You know what I mean? It's very difficult.
And sorry.
And Edmonton, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And Edmonton have a TSN station? Yeah, but I don't.
But they don't have rights.
No, I don't think Calgary does.
And Edmonton, which has a TSN station, I do not believe that station
they don't have
the rights to the game. So
it does not. See, Ottawa has the rights to the Senators for another 4 years. And Montreal has the rights to the Canadians, English language, for another 2 years.
Okay, so the clock is ticking.
And that's it.
Okay.
The rest of the rights in Canada are owned by other, like Chorus or Rogers stations.
And worth mentioning that the Vancouver and Winnipeg TSN radio stations are now going to be funny stations, just like Hamilton's Funny 820. Right. And essentially what it is, if anyone doesn't know, is that they completely automate stand-up comic bits.
It's good. It's funny, actually.
Yes, but it's inexpensive to run. Like, literally, one person can work for $14 an hour and keep that station going.
That's right. That's the future of AM radio, they say.
And you could have the same, there's 3 markets with the funny right now, and they could all be theoretically the same with just different, maybe local ads popped in, but they could be the same content.
It makes them money. And like you say, it's cheap programming.
Super cheap.
What else for media?
Just that a devil's advocate, Vanilla Coke, just says that I'm not sure you can blame Rogers and Bell for all this, because there's so much online content for sports highlights and programming that it's killed the traditional, TV and radio models. And you're a kind of a culprit here, Hebsy, because a lot of people might tune into Hebsy on sports. Instead, in the old days, they might have tuned in to see like a Jay and Dan or a Tim and Sid or something.
Perhaps, but I think what's happened is you can tell now on TSN and Sportsnet where their bread is buttered, where they have to be super careful in their comments, because that team they're talking about is a partner. They are all under the same umbrella. Right. We're Rogers, they're Rogers. We're Bell, they're Bell. Right? Got the rights there. We can't be biting the hand that feeds us. But when you're independent, like Mike Wilner is right now, the shackles are off. Tell us what you think. Did Shapiro and Atkins blow it? Is Montoya making a bad move there? I mean, that's refreshing, Mike.
Are you suggesting he wasn't that honest on Jay's talk in the past? I feel like he was. Yeah. Are you suggesting he held back some of his criticism of the team?
I think he did. I think he had to.
Okay, because he would dispute
really
that.
Know your stuff,
right?
And you don't have to worry about restrictions. You don't have to think.
Right. He's free. He's free. He just has to maintain that media, as long as he can keep his media pass.
Thinking.
Right.
Unless the Star has an agenda.
No.
And I would hope their agenda is good journalism. Get the truth out there and give us some stuff that they won't talk about on the Rogers broadcasts.
And the guy who controls the media pass access is a former Toronto Star reporter. So Richard Griffin.
Well, that may have something to do with it.
Just throwing that out there.
Certainly. Okay, we're done with sports media.
Yep.
All right, quickly now. The Aussie Open is going on right now. Felix Auger-Aliassime beating Denis Shapovalov in straight sets, advances to the 4th round. Milos was a winner today as well. And he gets the number 1 seed Novak Djokovic in the 4th round. Unfortunately for the fans, there's a 5-day lockdown in Melbourne because of a COVID outbreak at the airport Holiday Inn.
Yeah.
Well, what do they say about the Holiday Inns? Is it Holiday Inn Express? I wonder. I don't know, but I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express yesterday. So the matches are going to go on at the Aussie Open. No fans. You remember Bianca Andreescu?
I do recall, yes.
She was the number 8 seed, looked pretty rusty in her 2nd round loss earlier this week. We're going to give her the benefit of the doubt. She hasn't played since October 2019. She went down in the 2nd round. Leila Annie Fernandez went down in the 1st round. Earlier today, I mentioned that Ozzy Aliassime, the 20th seed, beat the number 11 seed, Shapovalov, in straight sets. So we always hated, we hate seeing Canadians play each other. Half of us go, at least one Canadian's going to make it to the fourth round.
Which is a good point.
Right? But it seems, I don't know, there's only so many Canadian players. It just seems that every big tournament, we've got Felix playing Dennis, or we've got Dennis playing Vasek, or we've got Milos playing Felix. It's tough to root for them.
Right.
All right. The Leafs get the Habs again tomorrow night. This time it's here, I believe, in Toronto. They didn't stay over in Montreal for a couple of days, right?
I no longer keep track of where they are.
Does it really matter actually where they're
playing? It doesn't matter.
You can't tell. And also, the crowds are like 2 seconds behind the play, 3 seconds behind the play when you watch it on TV.
Right. Sure.
Not sure.
Well, but I feel like you have to react. Like that would be the price you pay, is that this is, yeah.
It's in Toronto, 7:00.
Okay.
No, Mike, I'm sorry. Okay. If there's really a crowd there, they react
in real
time. At the same time.
Right.
As the announcer, as everyone together, right?
Sure.
He shoots, as he gets the out, the crowd is going, yeah.
Right.
But here, it's behind. But when you hear that sound,
right,
and then the announcer goes, "Let's score," and then the guy punches the button for the crowd.
Yeah, well,
sounds weird.
Remember, I'm the guy who thought we don't need this fake.
No, this wasn't for hockey. No, I agree with you with hockey.
Okay.
No, with soccer.
Sorry.
I said I needed a bit of sweetening because it was such a hollow sound.
Gotcha.
Now, has anyone heard the actual telecast, like with just natural sound? Are they available?
I don't know.
Can you do that? You can't. You can't separate the two.
No, you can't. No.
It's a mixed broadcast.
Right.
I don't like it. By the way, the Leafs are 11-2-1.
Wow.
First place in the National Hockey League. 5 clear of Montreal atop the Canadian division.
Cream of the nation.
Stanley Cup.
Well, with the All-Canadian Division Cup, yes, for sure. I wonder how good we are. I can't tell how good this team is because we just play all the Canadian teams. It would be interesting to see the final.
Well, I guess every other team's saying the same thing, aren't they? We don't know how good we are because we get... Look, Arizona and St. Louis are in the midst of playing each other 7 consecutive times because of COVID.
Wow.
7 times in a row. Now, what if they play in the playoffs this year and they play a 7-game series?
Right.
That's ridiculous. 7 straight times. There's another series going on. I think it's Boston, but they're playing 4 games in a row. So this is the way it is now. You're preparing for the playoffs because each playoff series, of course, you're playing the same team at least 4 times. So why not? Instead of getting sick of them, now you're getting honed. Right? The Leafs and Vancouver, by that 3rd game, the Leafs were just, everyone knew they were the better team, right?
Right.
Vancouver started their tailspin right there. Reel off 3 in a row against Vancouver, and the Leafs, you're flying now, baby. Montreal, bring it on. Whoever,
such a strange time to be a sports fan.
Raptors lost 120-106 to the Celtics last night in Boston. Toronto now at 12-14 on the year, Mike. That's good enough for 6th place in the East.
Wow.
We're the number 6 seed right now. We're 12-14. Boston's in 4th place, and I see the Raptor team getting better and better as Nick Nurse and his coaching staff try to find a solid rotation. Try to work in the guys. There's injuries. OG's hurt again. Pascal is Pascal. He can be absolutely fantastic. He can be mediocre, but he's getting better. Lowry, Van Vliet, is Norm Powell. What Norm Powell's going to show up tonight? Which one?
Right.
So we want consistency, but 2 games under 500 after the start that they had, never getting to play a game at home. They don't see their families. They're not like these other teams. We have to take that into consideration. These guys are in Tampa. They're like living out of suitcases and hotel rooms. I don't know, man. They got no fan support at all, except, I guess, on social media. I would crave that if I was a player, Mike. Where's my fans? Where's all those people that love us?
Right.
It's got to do something for you. Anyway, Raptors host Minnesota on Valentine's Day for their next tilt. Bob Nightingale of USA Today had tweeted that Trevor Bauer had signed with the New York Mets last week. Of course, he didn't. He signed with the Dodgers. He did a 180, and he caught Nightingale and a few others, but Nightingale especially, with his pants down because Nightingale said it's a done deal, per source or however.
Right.
Immediately, Bob Nightingale went to Twitter to apologize sincerely for his mistake. Big thing to do.
Sure.
But you got to own up to it.
He got it wrong.
And this is what we expect of anyone. I don't care, politicians, journalists, anyone that made a mistake has to own up to it. There has to be transparency. No one's perfect. No one. We get it. You made a mistake.
Right.
Have the decency to tell those people that were subjected to that you made a mistake, you're sorry, and it won't happen again. So there's a local broadcaster on Rogers that did that very thing.
You're not going to say her name? Oh, Hazel
Yeah.
May. Sorry, I talked all over it.
Yeah.
Hazel May. Yes.
And I think Hazel should apologize for tweeting out that she had confirmed that the Blue Jays had signed Michael Brantley.
She didn't? She didn't.
And I
so
think
she
that
just,
if she doesn't, then Sportsnet, someone has to say, we made a mistake. It won't happen again.
you don't think it's too late now? Like,
It's never too late, Mike. You just have to. And I think I thought that had she seen that Bob Nightingale tweet, he really screwed up, man. He pissed a lot of people off.
I think it's too
Sent
awkward
them
now.
down the garden path.
You can't be like, oh, that tweet I sent 4 weeks ago, I'm sorry, whatever.
Yes, you can. You got to acknowledge that you made a mistake. Upon thinking about it, I'm pondering it. I realize that I can no longer tweet out something and have you believe it unless I apologize for my misinformation. Anyway, that's just me.
Sure.
Say you're sorry. It's not that hard. The J.G. Taylor Spink Award used to be the top honor given out by the Baseball Writers Association of America. It was named after the original publisher of the Sporting News, the so-called Bible of Baseball, from 1914. But the publisher, J.G. Taylor Spink, was a racist and wrote articles demeaning blacks and insisting that baseball should never integrate. His name has been on the award since his death in 1962. But this year, the Baseball Writers Association of America, in their infinite wisdom, decided no more. J.G. Taylor Spink, racist. And they've decided to change the name in a vote of 325-9.
Wow.
The writers voted to take Spink's name off the award. Good. All I can say is, what took you so long? Recently, the writers voted to take Kennesaw Mountain Landis' name off the Most Valuable Player Award because of his racist beliefs and the fact that he was against integration for baseball and did his very best to prevent the black man from playing Major League Baseball until 1947. And this guy, this bum, who took over in 1919 after the Black Sox scandal,
right,
was the commissioner of baseball until I think 1943. So all those years. And he could have. He was very influential, of course. He could have said, let's discuss this. But he was not that type of human being. So his name has been wiped from the MVP award. Good. Mark Cuban has not played the Star-Spangled Banner at Dallas Mavericks games all season long. Nobody noticed until now. NBA teams were told this year that they did not have to play the national anthem, considering situations that are going on, divisiveness, et cetera, you know? You don't have to. It's not that important right now, and it might be divisive enough that it could cause problems, and let's just play the games. So Mark Cuban didn't play them. Never did. Didn't apologize. Nothing else. In other sports, they don't play the national anthem before every game. British soccer, they kneel in a moment of silence for Black Lives Matter, and they get up and start the game. There's no national anthem. Mike, huge debate going on, national anthem or no. And I should say that the Dallas Stars, without any prompting after the Mavericks, said this, the Dallas Stars said, we will continue to play the Star-Spangled Banner before Dallas Stars game because we are American.
Yeah, especially
that type of thing.
Texas. Right.
So I'm thinking, why would the Dallas Stars do this? Why wouldn't they just continue to play it? Why did they have to announce that they will continue to play the national anthem, even though their brethren of the Dallas Mavericks are not? What is that? That's pretty stupid to do that, to bring that to the attention of people. Hey, the Stars are playing it. And the fact that hockey's 98% white, It's just not a good look by the Dallas Stars. Mike, do you think that we should stop playing the national anthem before every regular season game in sports?
Hebsy, my thoughts on this align perfectly with yours, and you've been very consistent with this, and that I believe it needs to go the way of the dodo. Save it for, and I know you concur because we'll hear your opinion in a moment, but save it for Olympics or international events. And I'm okay if it showed up in the finals, like let it show up. Maybe you could talk me into saying the Stanley Cup Finals, you do the anthem to make, because it's special, it's something big or something, make it bigger or whatever. But for these regular season games, I would love to lose the national anthem. What say you?
I'm the same, of course, and I always have been. I always thought that there was a national anthem fetish, certainly in the United States.
Right.
And the fact that they would allow the average star to step out there and attempt to sing a song that's supposed to be about loyalty and patriotism and the American way, and Roseanne Barr gets to sing it before a baseball game. This is how insignificant it is. When it's played, it has to have meaning. And the more often it's played, the less of an effect it's going to have.
Sure.
And so if you say, oh, geez, we got 81 home games this year, we can't just play a recording of it. Let's start to ask. So I can tell you that Roseanne Barr and Carl Lewis and all these people that thought, oh, I just go out there and sing, who are not professionals, who are trying to sing a song that has a 4-octave range that Metropolitan Opera stars cannot cut. It's an incredibly difficult song to sing.
Right.
And if I hear it every single frickin' night, it's not going to have the same effect when they play it when my nation wins a gold medal at the Olympics. So save it for that.
What do you think about the national anthem before school? Because now that the kids, because I hear it every morning because they're doing it online. So the
Lord's Prayer national anthem, no.
Well, no, the Lord's Prayer is
Special
only
occasions.
in Catholic schools. But
Look, you changed the words of the national anthem because it's sung so damned often. You felt they had to change the name. Let's change the name of the national anthem because it's sung too often. Sing it when Canada wins a gold medal at the Olympics, right? Sing it loud and proud on Canada Day. Make it significant. Not a song that you hear as often as you hear Happy Birthday.
Right.
Think about it. Happy Birthday often? Once a year. How many times do you sing Happy Birthday? The national every day. It doesn't have the same meaning.
Right.
It used to have meaning when I watched at the end of the broadcast day of my favorite television station. And then they would play, you'd see the flag flapping and the beautiful vistas of Vancouver Island and of Newfoundland and of the prairies, the beautiful shots.
Right.
And you're standing loud and proud, the true north, strong and free. It meant something.
Right.
But not before a ball game. Oh, there's a national anthem. Grab your hot dog, grab your beer. And we will not be playing the national anthem before this show, ever. But if there's a significant moment for Canada in sports, I may be tempted to wheel out the national anthem and sing it loud and proud. How about that?
When Felix wins the Australian Open, maybe we'll bring it out.
Ooh, that's a good one. Maybe. I would like that. That's all for episode 219 of Hebsy on Sports. Thanks for joining us. Toronto Mike, thanks for your production and inspiration as always. And thanks for allowing us into your headspace. If you like the show, tell your friends and contact us if you have any comments at all. If we ran a little long today, so what? No time limit to the show. We got everything in we wanted to. Probably left a couple of things out. Any comments or suggestions, let us know. Back with another episode next week. Until then, so long for now. This podcast has been produced by TMDS and accelerated by Roam Phone. Roam Phone brings you the most reliable virtual phone service to run your business and protect your home number from unwanted calls. Visit roamphone.ca to get started.
Awesome. It's all that sports media stuff is
I know it's great.
padding but it's that's why we're going overtime here, because you write it up for an hour and then of course the sports media takes another half an hour or whatever.
Now, do you think when I edit this, I should put down the time codes of the various topics we talk about?
Well, it all depends on how much time you got. Like,
I'm just saying that. I mean, I present it now. Someone can go and they can scrub their way through it and find
I mean, that would be ideal.
talking
I like
points.
it like, well, you see on YouTube, someone puts an entire album out. I love that
Right.
I can click and
Okay,
go
so
to
I
the
think I'm
song.
going to do that. I think
Okay.
what I'll do is before I edit it, I'll just leave it. We'll leave it the way it is, and whoever wants to download this or
Right.
watch this, fine. But then on the edited version, what I'll do is
Mhm.
I'll leave it the way it is, and I'll just type in what time you want to go to on the tape to see when I talk about Wilner, when I talk about the Jays, or whatever.
That sounds amazing.